Yeah.
Talk to me about Saturday. I know Lamont is from DC. You probably know him very well too.
Oh, yeah.
How you prepare Tank for this fight?
It's crazy because that's something we all had to get up for. It's different when we go into battle against somebody we don't know. You know what I mean? But we know Lamont. Lamont comes to the gym and spot. In fact, his last, I believe, 2 fights, we were all in there preparing for the last 2 fights. So I didn't get that phone call until late. I didn't know we were fighting Lamont. And when it came to pass, it made you feel kind of funny because it's like family too. But I had to put that aside and look at his business. And that's what it is. I mean, it's going to be love before and love after.
Let's talk about it. That was Coach Barry Hunter, coach and trainer for Gervonta Tank Davis for the Lamont Roach fight. And we're going to pick that clip apart. But first, I want to talk about, before we get into that clip, we're going to talk about the Tank Davis training camp. Because I noticed a couple things. And that clip was 3 days before the fight. I think it was at the final press conference for the fight. But leading up to the fight, I had noticed a couple things, and it stuck out to me like a sore thumb when I was noticing certain footage of Tank during his training camp, and I noticed Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny wasn't there. And that was like a yellow flag to me. I was a little concerned, like, yo, where Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny at? Like, that's the dynamic trio. But, okay. Then I noticed he was working with Coach Boog. That's the big guy who hold the mitts for Tank from time to time. I've seen Tank work with him before, and Coach Barry Hunter. They was at the Headbangers Gym, a gym in DC. So I had noticed a couple clips, and all of them was at this gym in DC. So I'm like, okay, Tank in DC, and Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny not there. So, and that stuck out to me because Lamont Roach is from DC. So I'm like, man, Tank done went to his opponent's backyard to train. And that's odd. That's odd in its own right, because let me explain to y'all about Baltimore and DC. Baltimore City and DC, the 2 cities that's 45 minutes apart from each other. There's always been a deep-rooted rivalry / beef between Baltimore and DC. I'm from Baltimore, born and raised. And this rivalry has been intact since the beginning of time. I don't know how long it's been, eons, since before I was born, and it's till to this day. That's the climate of what it's like growing up in Baltimore City or growing up in DC. You just knew that the 2 cities did not get along. So to see Tank training there was a little concerning. To see Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny not there, even more concerning. I wasn't sure how to take that, but it is what it is. And when I seen Coach Barry and knowing Lamont Roach, I'm thinking, I don't think that was a good idea on Tank's behalf to go to DC to train. That's almost like if Tank had an opponent that he was signed up to fight, and the opponent came to Baltimore to train. Like, no boxing gym in Baltimore is really going to train no fighter to beat up Tank. Tank is our own. That's home team. You lucky if you don't get bamboozled and finessed. Man, it's a good chance you're gonna get set up for failure. And Might have a mole in the camp. Somebody might be calling and telling Tank what you're working on, what your weakness is, what your strengths. You got a lot to. I wouldn't do it. I don't think no fighter should come to Baltimore and train to fight Tank, knowing Tank is one of our own. You know, it's home team. So we're gonna go back to this clip of Coach Barry Hunter. And I'm gonna run it back one more time. And I want y'all to pay attention to how Coach Barry responds. Pay attention to his body language, his demeanor, his tone. Listen to his response. And the interviewer asked a good question. He said, Lamont being from DC, how do you train Gervonta Davis for this fight? And I really want you to listen and pay attention.
Camp was beautiful. Yeah.
Talk to me about Saturday. I know Lamont is from DC. You probably know him very well too.
Oh, yeah.
How you prepare Tank for this fight?
You know, it's crazy because that's something we all had to get up for. You know, it's different when we go into battle against somebody we don't know. You know what I mean? But we know Lamont. Lamont comes to the gym and spot. In fact, his last, I believe, 2 fights, we were all in there preparing for the last 2 fights. So I didn't get that phone call until late. I didn't know we were fighting Lamont. And
I don't know if y'all caught that. If you watch his face and his expressions and body language, he was a little tense. You could tell it was a struggle. He said, I didn't get that phone call till late. I didn't know we was fighting Lamont. They're going to let you know right there that there was a struggle there. To train Tank, the question is, how do you train Tank to fight Lamont? And he says, I didn't know we was fighting Lamont. I could see the struggle inside him. Let me run it back.
I know Lamont is from DC. You probably know him very well too.
Oh, yeah.
How you prepare Tank for this fight?
you know, it's crazy because that's something we all had to get up for.
It's crazy because it's something they had to get up for. They didn't. My bad. Let me carry on.
It's different when we go into battle against somebody we don't know. You know what I mean? But we know Lamont. Lamont comes to the gym and spot. In fact, his last, I believe, 2 fights, we were all in there preparing for the last 2 fights. So I didn't get that phone call until late. I didn't know we were fighting Lamont. And when it came to pass, you know, it made you feel kind of funny because it's like family too.
He said it made you feel kind of funny. Because Lamont is like family. That's home team. How do you prepare somebody to beat up home team? You can see the struggle. The struggle was all in him as he tried to answer these questions. You could tell that was a struggle for him and probably Coach Bug to train Tank for this fight. Did Tank get 100%? If I'm Tank and I'm looking at this, do I still want you to train me for this fight? Did I make a mistake? It looked like you had a hard time. It didn't look like an easy situation for you, Coach Barry Hunter. I'm just saying.
But I had to put that aside and look at his business. And that's what it is. I mean, it's going to be love before and love after.
Didn't seem like an easy task, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was telling. I thought that clip was telling. I don't want to take nothing away from Lamont because he put up a great fight. He showed his mettle. I mean, he came to rumble. What he said on the stage, I'm ready to boogie. And I ain't gonna lie, that's what he did. He was in there boogieing. And he showed that he can compete on Tank level. And he definitely made it a competitive fight to the very end. He matched up well with Tank. He matched up so well, people thought that he got robbed. I didn't think that, but people wasn't used to seeing Tank faced with any adversity, and Lamont came to rumble. The fight was worth every penny. It was entertaining, action packed, every round. And I go back and I watch some of Tank old fights, and even some of his old sparring partners. I listen to interviews with them, and I hear people give their take on Tank as a fighter. And I've heard a number of people mention how Tank is good with setting traps. And they'll mention how crafty he is inside that ring. And I heard some people ask him, like, where you learn that from? That is some old school crafty tricks you be doing in the ring when you be setting some of those traps. A lot of these young fighters don't know nothing about what you're doing. Where are you learning this stuff from? And they was like really taken aback and surprised and impressed with how well Tank was able to set up those traps and, get you out of there. And a lot of times that's what it be the punches that you didn't expect. The punches you didn't see that put you to sleep. And that's what a trap is. When you set a trap for somebody, you setting them up so that they can get caught with something that they didn't see coming. And when I go back and I rewatched the Roach fight a couple times, and I was impressed with how Roach didn't fall for none of the traps. And I thought that was a little unexpected. I'm like, everything Tank threw at Roach had a response for it. It's almost like Roach knew what Tank was going to do before he did it. Is the way Roach was reacting to everything Tank did, like he was ready. How was Roach so prepared for Tank? I mean, I don't want to take nothing away from Roach. Great fight, Roach. You guys take what you want from what I showed you today. Something to think about. And I want Tank to get back with Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny. Coach Kenny, that's the Bible. He didn't have Coach Kenny. I think Coach Kenny is more special than people realize. They call him the Bible for a reason. Because Coach Kenny is notorious for studying an opponent and pinpointing and highlighting the strengths and weaknesses. So what I'm saying is if that opponent keep his head down and keep his high guard and keep a high guard and he's open for the uppercut, Coach Kenny's going to peep it. And he's going to take it to Tank, and they're going to work on that all 8 weeks in the training camp so that Tank going to exploit that opening, which is with an uppercut. And the same with his strengths. If the fighter got a mean left hook, Coach Kenny going to peep it, and they're going to work on the defense. And so I believe having Coach Kenny in your corner is pivotal for Tank. And Coach Calvin, he's key as well because he knows Tank like a son. And I think any fighter needs that in a trainer. They need a trainer that knows them, that knows when, as a fighter, when that fighter is frustrated or when that fighter is letting off the gas or not dialed in. And Coach Calvin is good with that for Tank. He knows his fighter. And I urge Tank to get back with your team, get back to the drawing board. It wasn't broke. Shouldn't have tried to fix it. But yeah, hey y'all, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. I got more content coming. I'm gonna keep that work coming. Y'all gonna get this work. My name Bro Rich. I'm out.